Quid pro quo? I think a lot of people right now want to know the details, the nitty-gritty of the contract between DLB and Muscular Development Magazine. In fact, Joe Pietaro over at Muscle Sport Mag has written a whole article about whether or not the contract is an exclusivity contract or not. This is Christian Duke from StrengthAddicts.com, and I will be sipping BCAA Stack from TokyoNutrition.com throughout this video. So let's talk about Dana Linn Bailey. But before we talk about Dana Linn Bailey, let's talk about Victor Martinez and the saga from last week. Basically, Joe Pietaro from Muscle Sport Mag broke the story that Victor Martinez had been dropped from Muscular Development. 20 hours later, Victor Martinez refuted it, and in a post in which Joe and Ron Harris from MD were tagged on Facebook, Ron Harris said to expect a major statement from Bleckman the next day. That statement was a little ambiguous, but Victor came out and gave another bold statement in which he said that even when he was in prison, Muscular Development was sending the checks, providing for his family, and that he never had a contract with MD. See, I think that's a nugget right there. Still, before we move on, though, we should give major kudos to Steve Bleckman and MD because, as you know, when someone's in prison, they can't do guest appearances, they can't compete, they can't do photo shoots. Really, Victor Martinez wasn't doing anything to generate any income for MD, but MD was still paying him every month, and I think that's pretty cool. However, as an attorney, I wouldn't advise anyone to get into a contract with a supplement company or a magazine or just a private person without a contract. The contract protects you and it protects them. Moving along, though, a lot of people want to know about Dana Linn Bailey, and they want to know what kind of contract they have. And I'm going to say that I asked Dana Linn Bailey why the magazines were ignoring her at Dave Lieberman's 2015 NPC Natural Ohio, and Dana Linn Bailey and Rob Bailey both said that basically the magazines had given them the cold shoulder. In fact, when Dana Linn Bailey won the Physique Olympia, she didn't get any press. She didn't really get any covers. Can you imagine that? She won the inaugural Physique Olympia and didn't get any covers? That's crazy, right? Well, when the MD cover did come along, I think it opened all sorts of doors for her. Because again, for college kids, high school kids, yeah, the internet is king. But for people like middle-aged people, older people, the people that actually have the jobs and have the money, the people that came up with the magazines, the print media is still very much alive and well. I've got 2 trunks worth of magazines, and when we moved from Michigan to Kentucky, I thought about selling them. I almost sold one on eBay. I got a great deal, and I was like, great offer. And it's like, nah, I don't want to sell it. I didn't sell a single magazine. I didn't throw away a single magazine. They're all with me here. I got my Chris Cook magazines, my King Kamali mag, Jay Cutler, Ronnie Coleman. Those magazines are going to be with me till I die. Probably throw them in the coffin with me. And the reality of it is that when you make a cover of a magazine or you're covered in a feature story in a magazine, one of the big 4, it's really big too now, it's really MD and Flex, but Muscle Mag can still live off the past for 10 years. And Iron Man, which has a much smaller budget and just changed all of its middle and upper management, they still have a kick-ass publication. So in all honesty, if you make the cover of any of those 4 magazines, but particularly MD and Flex, all sorts of doors are going to open for you. Now, sort of taking from Victor Martinez's statement of not having a contract, it's very possible that DLB and MD do not have a contract. It's very possible that all they have is a handshake. I don't know. It's also possible that there's no exclusivity contract. DLB and her husband Rob went on their Flag Nor Fail channel on YouTube to sort of reassure their fans that nothing was going to change. And they told them, this contract with MD is for a column, but the Baileys can still work with whoever they want to, appear on whatever format they want to, and that's clearly not allowed with an exclusivity contract. I wrote 80 episodes of Muscle in the Morning with RxMuscle.com, and I used to contact people like George Farah, and Dorian, and just a lot of people and say, hey, can I get a guest comment? Can I get a photo? Even an off the record, they're like, I'm sorry, we can't, we have an exclusivity contract. So the fact that Baileys can still appear wherever they want to, talk to whoever they want to, potentially even collaborate with Weider AMI, for God's sake, that means there's no exclusivity contract. So Joe Pietaro is on the money for writing that. And again, an exclusivity contract that has a caveat that allows you to work with other people is not an exclusivity contract. So again, that's almost like, let's be monogamous, but there's a clause that says you can bang, another chick on Tuesdays. That's not monogamy. So the reason that I made this video titled Quid Pro Quo is because I'm going to throw another possibility. Joe Pietaro threw the idea that there's no exclusivity contract, citing the Bailey's video on YouTube. And I have already said there's maybe not a contract based on what Victor Martinez said in his comment a few days ago. But I'm going to throw yet another possibility into the mix, and that is that the Baileys, A, don't have a contract, and B, are not getting paid one plug nickel. So people are going to be like, well, then why the hell would she lend her name and likeness to be on the cover of MD? And that is why I said quid pro quo, something for something. I believe, again, making the cover of a magazine is king. You can be on the cover of RX Muscle, you can be on the cover of Strength Addicts, whatever, it doesn't matter. It pales in comparison to being on the cover of a magazine. Magazines are for life. People keep them for life. People read them throughout their lives. And making the cover is going to impress, you know, the middle-aged, the older people, the giant supplement companies, the federations, the brass in the federations. We all know the MPC and the IFBB are king, but there's a lot of little federations too. And the brass in those federations, hey, you make the cover of a magazine and you compete in one of their shows, you're going to turn some heads. So again, I think that, you know, the Baileys had a lot to gain. Dana Linn Bailey had a lot to gain from being on the cover of MD, and she may have said, well, I will be, they may have said to her, in fact, because I don't think that she made the offer, they might have said to her, look, we'll put you on the cover of the magazine now. We won't make you wait a year. We'll do it now in exchange for you giving us 12 columns, one per each magazine for the year. And the reason they might have done that is they might have said, listen, you know, of course your cover issue is going to sell like hotcakes, but we can't put you on the cover for 12 issues. At some point, people are going to, you know, buy the magazine the first couple times for your column, but then they're going to be like, well, it's her column, whatever. She's already doing these videos on Flagner Fail, and she's appearing with all these other people. They'll skip the column. So we're going to pay you all this money for 1-year contract, when in reality you're going to sell one hot issue, and then maybe a couple other ones at a lot lower, you know, volume. And then the other 10 issues aren't going to sell shit because people aren't going to want your column that bad to pay $7, $8 for a magazine. So they might have just said, here's our offer. We'll give you the cover in exchange for these 12 columns, you know, and our contract is a handshake. In which case, again, MD would expose itself to possibly breach, because Dana might say after 3 columns, he's like, nah, you know what, this isn't really worth my time. You should be paying me. I'm not going to do it till you pay me. And MD might say, well, we're not going to pay you because that wasn't the original terms. And then you've got a lawsuit based on a handshake that's not going to go anywhere. So MD really could have stuck its neck out and taken a risk. That could be the case. Or DLB could be like, you know what, I'm going to stick it out. I'm going to do the 12 columns or whatever. And then after that, I'm going to ask you guys for a contract, in which case MD is going to be like, well, we don't really want to work with a women's physique competitor. You know, we just want to work with bodybuilders and bikini chicks. That's possibly what could happen. I don't know. These are just different scenarios. But again, I think that there's no exclusivity contract, and I think there's very much a case of quid pro quo. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Again, this is just speculation, very educated speculation, but speculation nonetheless. I'm Christian Duke from StrengthAddicts.com. And again, check out one of my great sponsors, Tokyo Nutrition. They just put out this amazing product, BCAA Stack, available right now at TokyoNutrition.com. Use discount code BuildMuscle and save 25% off site-wide. You can save 25% on the BCAA Stack. You can save 25% on the Test 400, on the Nitrous Stack, on the 1-Alpha Test, and on the Glutamine Stack, on all their products at TokyoNutrition.com. Peace! That's good.